corruption. We're looking for, why should we be giving hundreds of millions of dollars to countries when there's this kind of corruption? Hillary Clinton.
So,
I had forgotten about that.
Gonna buy a new desk actually. Just throw this one. Yeah, because I don't like this. It's a little too small. I need more of the space. So computer desk that's longer. Just store it away and just I'll run the PC on like a little table, that little table that we have, the one that we bought from IKEA. What pen? Muscle relaxer? Yeah. Why? Yeah? Why? Yeah. That's how. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's all that matters. Yeah. The box that I've been like one of the last days.
Yo, Topalicious, was geht?
That's where I knew the name from.
And so
That's right.
we shouldn't be complacent about this.
No, because you're right. Because this happened. So Trump spoke, and literally, let me see if I'm getting this right. So literally, within 1 or 2 hours of Trump giving his speech at the RNC, where he said we will stop the war in Ukraine, within an hour or two of that, there's a massive CrowdStrike failure that causes massive issues. That's that is an interesting point. You're blowing my mind here just now because I had not thought about that. Wow.
You know,
I'd forgotten about that. Yeah. Wow. Holy shit.
yeah, you're likely to be on the receiving end of this, particularly if you're stateside or Europe side right
Wow.
now, because
Okay.
so you know, getting to that's old, but well, more outages. But this U.S. Coast Guard reports network outage, asking mariners to report emergencies by phone. Last time I checked, there weren't too many telegraph wires running out to the ocean, but could you patch me through to?
Well, I mean, they do have transoceanic.
Just go down and tap those lines. Send down.
Well, that's actually the CIA does, or the NSA does do that.
So GDS says Ukraine is a giant coder base for most software, but has been for decades. Could be a factor in this, actually. Yeah. Yeah. Look. I mean, I do use it, but sort of tangentially. But Restream, that's Ukrainian. And if people cast their minds back, Ukraine was supposed to be this new wonder economy, the epitome of World Economic Forum projections, right? It was supposed to be all digital, all, I don't know if they were planning on rolling out universal basic income, but for can I say, I don't know why they, well, because of its geostrategic importance, I guess, and of course we shouldn't forget New Jerusalem as a driving factor as well. Let's see, CrowdStrike is an embedded partner in Five Eyes. Yeah, and we must remember the sixth eye in this as well. And that, how much of this is not personal, like power group interests versus country interests. And I think you're naive to think about countries like in the traditional sense, like us our boomers or whatever, like what would be Gen X, right? The way we were taught, or what boomers think of as countries. I think that's gone, right? As things got digitized and borders blurred, etc. And essentially you just got economic zones, and it's people fighting over economic zones and power leverage zones. All right, let's see. Ukraine is choice number one for outsourcing. India number two. Yeah, well, cheap energy, fairly well-educated workforce.
What exactly is it that you like?
Ukraine is a lot of things, but let's just bring us up. Let's get to this one. Leading up to do the Trump. So Trump says he had a very good call. Claims Zelensky pledges to end war. So I imagine being the definition for one way, good, was one way, in the, if Trump was
Concert. Sing it, dude.
himself, as he said he would, that he must have basically told Zelensky that's it. Right? So,
Yep. In the story, it goes on to say, so Trump had this Truth Social post where he says, "Hey, I talked to Zelensky. I told him I'm going to end the war as soon as possible, potentially even as soon as he's president-elect, but he's going to be immediately calling for a stop to it." And when Zelensky posted his own Twitter or whatever social media, Instagram posted, he did later on, he posted about the call, but he didn't mention anything about ending the war with Russia. So you could, if you read down into this story a little bit, it's very interesting to see that Zelensky did not go along with the pledge to end, because of course his handlers are funding the military-industrial complex, and so yeah, he needs the war to stay alive for him to stay alive.
yeah, look, he's set. He's got Prince Charles' old house, the British Secret Service, the Crown Secret Service, I should say, will be. Wow, I say if I'd want that, I wouldn't trust my my breakfast of the morning. But he has an out for sure. And
Give us some more bars. We need more bars.
How can he shove up his nose, or how many more properties does he really need? I don't think he's doing this for.
He's not long for Ukraine.
No, she doesn't want to.
I'd do some options on that.
Some put options.
Yeah, on his tenure. Some put options on his tenure. I'd be laying all the money on the table there. I'd be going all in.
All in, yeah.
He's not long for Ukraine. Whether or not he's not long for the world.
You're a legitimate Down syndrome kid.
In time before his own people.
Yeah, and I bet.
I'll tell you about it in the chorus.
Like I say, the fact that he has that house now just tells you that. We know what you're up to.
My gut tells me he's not going to make it out of there. And if that was the case, he would have made his own bed and slept in it. But at the very least, Trump is being consistent. And
well, I mean, it's out of all of it, right? Like, I don't expect much, right, from politicians of countries. I'm too jaded now. But if there was one policy thing that I wanted put into action, it would be please stop the massive war on Europe's continent.
Yeah. And Trump is during his speech, he said, I mean, Trump was Trump, but he was basically saying, yeah, I'm going to pick up the phone and I'm going to end the war as quickly as possible. And he pointed out rightly that it was the Bush administration's, like every administration has started wars except for him. He ended the ISIS conflict. He ended ISIS. They only came back afterwards.
Well, that's just a matter of telling the CIA to.
Oh, that's true. Well, yeah, but the CIA was actively working against him. So I will give the U.S. military, the Marines in particular, for taking out ISIS before the CIA could fund them some more.
They've popped back up in Afghanistan, from what I hear. But
They have.
yeah, let's see. CrowdStrike activities even shut down the RF bombardment on my property from mesh shenanigans for the first time ever for about 12 hours. Interesting. I don't know.
Dropped an emergency. Where?
Anyway, let's get through work.
I don't think you can make it though, bro.
Madness
Just saying.
That is Curry. So we did that, and of course I wanted to do this. So Zelensky is in 10, and I would have to presume that this footage, or him having talks with Starmer, like they must be taking cues from what Trump is doing, right? They must, like, even if the British would actively still like to pursue the conflict, they realise they can't do that. I'm like, oh, no. You know what, dude? The more I think about it, right, even if there could be enough sort of spite in old European power groups that they might say, oh, we'll continue to arm Ukraine. Well, back from.
I mean, they're going to want to, but at the same time,
Goodbye, my lover.
Hundreds of billions of contracts already lined up for all the companies to rebuild Ukraine once the conflict is over. It will be interesting to see, because this is ultimately going to be a conflict. This will be a showdown between NATO and Trump, and I mean, I don't see Trump backing down from his stance to end the war in Ukraine, as much as they want to justify it. He's going out of his way, and these CrowdStrike activities kind of show that they're getting desperate. So, I mean, who knows what's gonna? Could they do it without him? Yes. Technically, the NATO charter says that you could do that.
I mean, because technically it's not even like a NATO war. They haven't declared anything. They're just funneling.
Right, but once again, Putin, if let's say Trump is elected and then he's president-elect, even when he's president-elect, Putin's watching this right now, and so Putin. Why would Putin need to continue the war if he's already got assurances from Trump that? Because if they're able to come to an agreement, I don't know that NATO can overcome that. Like it's going to be very interesting to see what happens because the showdown is coming. But the U.S. leads NATO, and if the president and Putin come to an agreement, I don't know that the NATO. I don't know what NATO can do because Trump. Why would Putin attack a NATO country, triggering a response under the treaty, if he knows that Trump is going to come into power, and Trump wants the war to end, and Trump will almost certainly allow for Ukraine to remain neutral. And
yeah, but
I mean,
each individual.
I don't see Trump backing down from his stance to end the war in Ukraine, as much as they want to justify it. He's going out of his way, and these crowd-strike activities kind of show that they're getting desperate. So,
I see you liking my shit.
I mean, who knows?
I see you liking my
Could they do
shit.
it without him? Yes. Technically, the NATO charter says that you could do that.
I mean, because technically it's not even like a NATO war. They haven't declared anything. They're just funneling.
Right, but once again, Putin, if let's say Trump is elected and then he's president-elect, even when he's president-elect, Putin's watching this right now, and so Putin. Why would Putin need to continue the war if he's already got assurances from Trump that? Because if they're able to come to an agreement, I don't know that NATO can overcome that. Like it's going to be very interesting to see what happens because the showdown is coming. But the U.S. leads NATO, and if the president and Putin come to an agreement, I don't know that the NATO. I don't know what NATO can do because Trump. Why would Putin attack a NATO country, triggering a response under the treaty, if he knows that Trump is going to come into power, and Trump wants the war to end, and Trump will almost certainly allow for Ukraine to remain neutral.
Yeah, but each individual country of NATO can just keep saying. It's like the French just sent a whole bunch of armored vehicles and guns and whatnot.
Right, but ultimately, what has to happen is for Russia to directly attack them, not the other way around. So Putin, as long as Putin shows restraint, I think Trump. No pun intended, but I think he holds the trump card in this case.
Maybe.
We'll see. I mean, well, first he has to make it to there. I mean, they're clearly trying to kill him.
Let's see. Andrew Desmond says Russia will never relent until their NG contracts are secured and their new financial systems allowed. Yeah, I mean,
I don't think that matters. I think BRICS is already rolling. I think that die's already been cast.
Yeah, but to negotiate from even more strength, right? Why wouldn't they use the next month's?
Oh, I agree that that Russia will continue to push. I mean, that's what I was talking about in previous episodes. What I'm saying is that there's no need for Putin to be the one that crosses the line. And even if Poland, for instance, decides that they're going to do something to try to instigate something more, it wouldn't surprise me for Putin to show restraint and be like, look, you can do whatever the fuck you want, but at the end of the day, if the head country, the U.S. is NATO, so if the president of the United States, even if there's all this funding that's supposed to go to fund stuff in Ukraine, that money can still go to Ukraine. Congress ultimately has the control over whether or not to declare war, but there isn't a war.
Yeah,
and for the NATO alliance to, they've been trying to force Putin to come to this stuff. But if Putin sees that a Trump administration is coming in, he can still keep his foot on the gas without triggering the article, whatever. So Putin's in a great position right now, because he's more than likely going to get what he wants, and with Biden on the way out, NATO loses a whole bunch of their authority in this. Whatever limited leverage that they have, they're losing it because Trump is openly saying that he doesn't give a fuck. And yes, NATO is obsolete.
Yeah.
Only the
Look,
military-industrial complex wants it. That's true.
yeah, and I would have said, the sensible thing to have done would have been to stage it down as sort of Russia was sort of shrinking, or the Soviet Union, I should say, not Russia. And honestly, man, I generally think most people tend towards rational and somewhat self-interest, balanced self-interest in most cases. And had we sort of followed that course of action, where they'd sort of, I don't know if you believe those stories about Reagan getting mortified by the day after, or not, but that sort of, I can remember at the time, dude, just having grown up through it, the end of it, I should say, that's the last 20 years of it, the winding down of the idea that we could just get vaporized. It's like, it was a huge, I don't know, like, was it a good thing? Because it kind of sort of took the brakes off of the breakdown, right? I would say, like, things got very permissive culturally afterwards, because they didn't need such military posture.
Well, there's a give and a take in everything, and the West handled that much worse than other countries. I mean, because you have to think of it. Japan, for instance, Japan was absolutely, literally vaporized in some cases, firebombed, etc. Its population was destroyed. And it had been an industrial power prior to the war, and it was able to roar back. And then, of course, Taiwan and Korea were able to join in on that, even though they hadn't really been pre-war industrial powers. But the problem is the industrial base in the United States and in much of the West is so much weaker now. But and then you layer that, you layer all this social disintegration on top of that, and it really does. It makes for a very chaotic and dangerous brew.
Where's our white ear patches? Yeah, I ain't doing that.
What's that?
Like, we need some white pillow ear patches. Look, I even have white tape on the desk.
White pillow ear patches? I don't.
No, my pillow ear patches.
Oh, my pillow ear. I thought that was like a reference to Trump's bandage on his ear.
Yeah, well, it was. But everyone calls it the my pillow.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, there's so many memes of it. Just 'cause it literally looks like a pillow, right?
Oh god, that's funny. I missed that. Yeah.
So, look, like I said, I've got low expectations when it comes to politics, right? I have like what I would like to happen and what I expect to happen, and then I'm basically indifferent to the rest of it. It's I don't expect governments to any help from them. It's always just a pain in the ass to deal with them. But then, there's this issue of, well, what do you put in its place? And I'm very reluctant to say you dismantle the sort of civic structures that we have, because you're surrendering that space to the corporate world, and that to me seems an even bigger nightmare than essentially the shower of bastards you get for politicians. I don't have good solutions in that domain, dude. Just survive, come out the other side, and remember who all the assholes were through it, and then you can call them out as they start to climb the greasy pole again. All right, so I think we did Trump and news. Oh yes, of course, this. So in the hybrid war, whose war is this? So this out of Israel. Yeah, I could say that I know this beach real well.
Oh yeah, the drone strike.
Yeah. Now, I have some thoughts on this.
Ты видишь, дрон летит? Крестюш, ты видишь, кто это такой? Блядь! Пиздец, это...
Now, it's not an insignificant boom when it goes off, so I don't know, man. Like, how many kilos of explosive was that? 20, 30?
A decent amount. I mean, to be able to see from that distance.
Yeah, because like that part of the Tel Aviv beach, she's literally sort of in the midway point. I would say you could say that there's you can see the lights from the distance, but I could bike along that front, like the main part of it. It would take me 20 minutes, 25 minutes from end to end. But the thought I had here is, and this just is going to relate to the next news headline, which is we heard that Iran was responsible for the shooting, and this research, as I was getting ready, just in it, Iran is 1 or 2 weeks away from reaching capacity for producing fissile material for nuclear weapons, linking claims. And this, again, this hybrid war, and who's pulling strings to achieve what strategic aims?
Yep.
And I'm surprised that
Ты видишь, дрон летит? Крестюш, ты видишь, кто это такой?
now, so think about this. They've been under drone attack from outside of the country, so the non-Palestinian side of this conflict. So it's coming from the north, and they know that they've got this issue, supposedly with Houthi rebels. And so I would have expected, knowing what I know, just the amount of fucking air assets you used to just see flying up and down that coast, that there wasn't something up in the air that could lock a radar onto something that would be carrying that amount of boom and at least intercept it.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying there. Yeah.
And so, so my concern is like with the chosen one coming in, and then the forever war switches. They get what they want, which is they blame Iran. Now, is that them deliberately letting that drone in? Did they fight? Who knows what's out 10 miles off the coast? And
Well, I mean, what was it that I learned about the other day? The doctrine.
Hannibal Doctrine.
Hannibal Doctrine, yeah. Well, of course, the main enemy of the United States is not a nuclear-powered Iran. It's China. The biggest threat Iran would pose to a country, if it had a nuclear weapon, would be Israel, not the United States. So, yes, it wouldn't. Would anything shock me at this point? No. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, relative to the October 7th attacks and everything else, No, this is just par for the course at this point. But
Look, man, I lived literally 5 minutes from where that thing went down. That could have landed on my apartment. The depth it went into the coast, I'm literally like, if you walked 500, 600 meters to the right and then walked in, I was living about there.
maybe the deep state is trying to kill you, and they're just really far behind.
This really
I mean, because I remember I was telling you guys that last year, whenever I was out and about on the road doing my thing, that I went to go visit. Oh my gosh, who was it? One of the attorneys. His name escapes me at the moment, but attorney for. Oh my gosh! Wow, I'm just terrible.
vaccine injured.
For the vaccine injured. No, what's her name? The main Pfizer.
Brooks.
Thank you. Japan is causing the prions in my brain to act up. But Werner Mendenhall, yes, I went and saw him, and I drove up and got to just outside Canton and Akron, Ohio, on February 3rd, and it just so happened that within hours of me arriving there was the train derailment that took place.
Oh, yeah.
30 miles away. And then literally within hours of me driving past, right around the time I was driving past the Y-12 National Security Complex, which is where there's still an active reactor, but used to be uranium enrichment for the original atomic bombs, outside of Knoxville, Tennessee, there was there was a fire or something.
Yeah, I remember.
So there's a lot of strange things traveling around. Right as I was traveling, there was a lot of and then the literally the outlet mall where I worked, where I was working on my MBA, like 100 meters from where I used to work.
Oh, the shooter.
They killed 8 people. So I'm not saying that I had anything to do with those, but it is funny.
You stay over the other side of that room, Rixie.
Yeah, they're trying to get me. They can't. They're trying to get me too, and they keep missing. So
maybe they'll use one of those ninja missiles. Not ninja. What are they called? Yeah, it was ninja missile, right?
Ninja missile, but I mean that's kind of racist here in Japan. So.
Make the blades hit the Marine. No, man.
Well, we know their targeting is pretty good. Depending, well, I guess.
I don't know. I believe that thing is real, for sure. Why wouldn't they make something like that? I'm a bit incredulous about the claims of it can take out one person in a car and spare the people around. I don't think those people are getting out uninjured with that thing. Slams into the front, like if it's taking out the driver, you're just the pieces of metal flying after that. They must be supersonic, right? At least right on the border of the sound barrier of those missiles. Hellfires. What a name. Hellblades. Yeah, for people that don't know what I'm talking about, they literally have like this spring-loaded. I can find it. Ninja Hellfire missile. Is it 59 RX Ninja missile? And does not use explosive warheads.
On 26th of February 2017, this man, one of the most wanted people on Earth, was taken out by a drone strike orchestrated by the U.S. Air Force in Syria. This news was covered by news channels all around the world, and the main reason was not just the man, but the unique top-secret missile that was used to get the job done, the AGM-114R9X Hellfire missile. This missile is fast, carries no explosives, and makes almost no damage to anything other than the target. In this video, with the help of 3D animation, we'll take a look at how the Hellfire missile and its variants, because that's the least protected.
The remote control should be on the table in the big orange bar. The boys should know. Are they not there?
No,
I don't know. It's a Hellfire with ninja blades on it, samurai blades.
What we do know is that each blade has holes in them to reduce weight. They are razor sharp and strong enough to effortlessly cut through the roofs of cars. The missile is so accurate that one specific passenger in the car can be targeted.
Yeah, I'm not buying all the rest of the occupants are walking away from it. I'm finding that difficult to believe, particularly as they're just showing fragments of blades embedded in various other parts of the scene. Is it more? Yeah, I don't think anyone's coming out of that car alive. Show the sleepy range at least. Here's what happens over next year. Trump gets in, then massive false flag attack on USA soil or aircraft carrier in the Middle East, killing thousands of Yankees, gets blamed on Palestine, mega chimps out, attack used to invade West Bank, then they try to go. No, I don't think they're bothering Palestine. Why would they? The Israelis take care of those. Would they try to agitate for war with Iran? Yeah, they would. And the power has gone off. There are issues in the household. So we can everyone's blue screen to death today. We'll save